Hey everyone, today I'm interviewing Dave Turchin. He's a former colleague of mine that transitioned from Deloitte to tech sales. I've learned a lot from Dave throughout my career and also thought as this channel has grown, it would be great to give him exposure if you're maybe in accounting, if you're a consultant, if you're in a standard STEM-based career and are looking at tech sales. He's a great resource, and we're also going to make a link available if you'd like to book a one-on-one coaching session with Dave after this interview. Lastly, again, thank you for all the support. If you're finding value in these videos, we'd appreciate a like and subscribe. But with that being said, let's transition to my interview with Dave. Thanks. Hey everyone, thanks for joining. I wanted to interview Dave. I've spoken to a lot of people in accounting, consulting careers, etc., who made the change. Dave is someone I learned a lot from when I started my tech sales career, was at Deloitte for, I believe, 3 years, and ultimately has now transitioned to an enterprise account executive role, had a lot of success in sales. So just wanted to kind of peer into the mindset. And Dave, I'll kick it over to you, but take us back to consulting days at Deloitte, learning about tech sales and ultimately making that transition.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me, Eric. Okay, so Deloitte is actually where I started my career immediately post college. I went to Cal Poly in California for any Mustang alum out there. When I started at Deloitte Consulting, I was in a group that straddled the line between strategy consulting and IT, tech consulting software. We were working with some of the largest companies in the world, Amgen, GlaxoSmithKline, Sony, and I was on site maybe 4 days a week at these companies. What the position was really about was helping customers understand they were all in the midst of different digital transformations, and that was going to involve almost every part of their IT tech stack. So, in this position, while it wasn't a direct sales role, I got exposure to a lot of C-level executives, did a lot of stakeholder interviews, and the common theme was basically just figuring out where are you today, where do you want to be, and how do you get there with technology, and why should Deloitte be the one and the vendors we select be the ones to lead the follow-on work. What was interesting is while this wasn't, a lot of people wouldn't think that this is exposure to sales, but it really was because the partners on these projects, I mean, I was 22 at the time, so I didn't have the quota, but the partners did. And these were 50 million, 75 million and up, right? 8, 9 figure deals, multi-year, involving a lot of moving pieces. So I spent 3 years getting exposure to that. And while I was there, we did a lot of optimization of companies' operational processes, right? The only downside about consulting, aside from the long hours and quite frankly, until partner level, pay is well, subjective, right? It was good coming out of school, but eventually, you see a lot of sunrises from the office. You wonder if it makes it worth it. But aside from that, the only thing about consulting is you don't really get to see the fruits of your labor. You're on to the next project, the next client, the next city, whatever. And so after that, I decided I want to do something where I can really, where I can stay at a company. So I took a sales operations role at MuleSoft, and I got to see that side of the business. Saw the company go from a Series E to an IPO to acquired by Salesforce for a hefty premium at the time. But one of the things that I noticed is while I was doing a lot of work that I thought was really important, and it was to the company, operations was a lot more important in my own mind than it was to the bottom line. And what really made the difference, it was a couple things, but my interview answer would be, and this is true, that I saw that the best salespeople that were at MuleSoft at the time, and there were quite a few of them, could impact the bottom line for their company, their team, and themselves, almost purely by how hard they worked, how well they were able to navigate a client, a customer situation, which resources they were able to pull in. And I thought, these are all things that I could do. Operations was very behind the scenes, if you will. And I've never really been a behind the scenes guy. And the second thing, which I'll share with your audience, that really ultimately made me make the move is I remember right around when we IPO, or we were about to IPO, I asked a friend of mine, sales rep, 26 years old. He was my best friend, which is why it was okay that he did this. But I asked him a tax question, and it was right around tax season. We were at his house. He shows me his W-2, and he said, "Look, I'm the wrong guy to ask. 26 years old, W-2, $895,000. And that was the moment that I said, whatever it takes, I'm going to break into software sales. I got that opportunity at MongoDB, making literally less than 10% of that. but it was an experience I wouldn't trade for the world. Since then, it's been a great run. So that's a long answer to your very short question, but hopefully that gives some context on who I am, where I've been, and where I'm going.
Yeah, no, that's a great answer. And I'm curious too, you having more, like I come from the engineering background. Obviously people watching this, I would envision, are thinking about potentially changing to tech sales. A huge question, and you already touched on some of it, but in terms of like maybe the mindset, like one of the things when I was in an engineering career, I kind of felt almost like trapped the longer I was in it. Were there
Right.
elements of that, or what kinds of things did you have to change going to sales?
Absolutely, man. I mean, I would say that so my background in college was finance, which actually, believe it or not, has come in handy a little bit in my sales career, just in terms of understanding like CapEx, OpEx. I'd be lying if I said I still use the equations from, bond and equity pricing calculations, but I remember thinking that that was a really prestigious background. And operations, I was meeting with VPs and setting corporate strategies and stuff like that. But I realized every now and then I would kind of look at the job market to see, if I needed to make a change, where would I go? Roles for it was honestly kind of daunting. There are a very limited number of roles for operations folks, or if you choose finance or FP&A as kind of your skill set, it's pretty narrow, right? It's a pretty narrow path to CFO. And one of the, I hate to make this sound so financially driven, but one of the things that I kept coming back to, my mom is a CHRO, Chief Human Resources Officer. I know how much everybody gets paid across every industry, vertical, whatever. But the thing is outside, so at many, many companies, there are sales reps making more than the CEO. That's one. Two, if you want to go into operations or finance or corporate strategy, you're really not making anything above, let's call it 200 grand until you're 15, 20 years into your career, with several people reporting, beneath you. And frankly, those jobs are a little bit limited and hard to come by. Sales, look, I mean, this is a strange forum to broadcast this, but I've made that much in a single quarter, and I wouldn't put it past myself to do it again. So,
Nice. Awesome. Yeah. And then I guess looking forward to one thing I'll add, we are going to create a link. So for anyone who wants to connect with Dave, we'll talk about the best way, whether it's LinkedIn or otherwise. If you do want to have a chat with him, we're going to create that opportunity to book some coaching sessions with him. But yeah, I guess any other parts or maybe things I've glossed over from your overall experience or how you're liking it now, kind of going through those different levels of sales?
here's one thing that I'll say, and it was one of the biggest, most humbling experiences of my life. I talked a little bit about my background, right? Consulting and then strategy, and went to a good school. When I decided that I was going to go get a sales job, it was the most difficult thing I have ever done. I had to, I probably went out to coffee chats with 40, 50 AEs, people who, my friends' older brothers. I had people asking, like, remind me again how we know each other. And the answer was, look, I don't. I want to do what you do. Despite, all my best efforts, I read all the sales books, I listened to the podcasts. The amount of times I got rejected because I had never been an SDR. I didn't have any closing experience. I was at the time, I mean, I think I was 27 years old. I'm not going to say that the SDR role was beneath me, but I thought that I had it in me to start a little bit higher. Ultimately, it took me I was fully unemployed at the time. I was putting in more than 40-hour weeks for, it was 7 weeks end to end from my last day at MuleSoft to my first day at MongoDB as a corporate account executive. And I did every interview, right? I did every pitch, demo, practice for every role, and I found one that was great. Mongo has a fantastic sales enablement program, but what I mean to say to like anyone who's interested in coaching, this is something that I personally enjoy doing, and I've been through it all. And I trust me when I say that I know firsthand how daunting this thing can be, but it's achievable. So
Yeah.
happy to help anyone who wants to be helped, because I think everybody, whether sales is for you or it's not, I mean, find out on your own, but I think everybody should try their hand at this, if only because of the ancillary benefits that it's had in my overall life. How to structure a conversation in a logical way, not necessarily designed to get what you want, but to get everybody aligned towards a common goal. The benefits go far beyond just your professional life. So, like I said, I mean, I don't want to dominate this one. And if anyone wants to reach out to me, I promise to let you do more of the talking, sales 101. But yeah, happy to help.
Yeah. No, really great advice. And I think I would just hammer that home. Like I also had on paper, very strong academic record in engineering. You're coming from the finance background, working at a brand name like Deloitte, and it still took a ton to break in. But once you break in, once you find success, the upside is certainly there.
And I'll leave you with this last thing, another inspiration to me, and we should probably try to, who knows, we can see if we can get him involved in this. He's now a senior vice president at Salesforce, but a former colleague of mine, I won't share his name yet, but when we worked together, he had graduated from first Princeton, then he went to JP Morgan for 4 years as an investment banking analyst, where he had, in year four, six-figure bonuses. He then went to Stanford Graduate School of Business, right? So let's look at the track record. After all of that, he took a position as an SDR. He's been interviewed countless times about this, why he did it, et cetera. His answers parallel mine quite a bit. He will be a CRO in the next 3 years. Since moving into sales, I mean, he's been at Salesforce for quite a while. I think has broken every record, quota, attainment thing that they have. And now he's living the dream. Southern California, probably going to start his own thing. But another example of a great pedigree, non-traditional background, but this guy could have done anything, and he chose software sales. So I'm not quite him, but hopefully, you get the picture. So.
Yeah. Well, really appreciate it, Dave. And like I mentioned, we'll follow up in the description with more information on how to contact Dave if you're in that situation, want direct coaching. And yeah, really appreciate it.
All right. Good luck. Thanks, Eric.